Thank you for tuning into NPR's recording of Justice League Revisited. We appreciate you being here today. I'm one of your hosts, James Enstall. On the other side of the view screen, my NPR co-host, Susan Eisenberg. Susan, thank you for joining us.
Hi, James. Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
It's great.
Why are we doing this bit?
Just tried something different. I don't know. You don't think it's working, do you? That's fine. We'll forget we ever did that. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Always want to try something new, and I never run it by Susan just because I like to hear her laugh when she realizes, boy, this is the dumbest thing ever. Thank you all for joining us on Justice League Revisited. We're doing an episode again. We haven't done this quite a bit as much with Unlimited as we used to do with Justice League, but I think this particular episode we're revisiting again definitely required a second go. Don't you agree?
It did. I mean, this is a big one, and it's a two-parter. It's just one of the. It's one of my favorites. Whenever I'm asked, I always mention this episode, and revisiting it was just a joy because I'd forgotten so much, especially of the second episode where I'm not in it because I disappear. But it was just a joy, and so who better to talk about it with and to revisit it with than these our guests today? Do you want to tell the kids who's on?
Today, kids, on Justice League Revisited, we've got the directors of our two-part episode. We have part one, Weird Western Tales. Both of these parts were written by the incredible Dwayne McDuffie. We'll talk with both of them a little bit later on in the show about working with this genius. And there's really no other word to describe Dwayne other than genius. But we've got the directors, part one, Dan Riba. Part two, which was Time Warped, Joaquim Dos Santos. This is the first time we've had both of them on the show together, and I love the crossover that we've got going on here.
Yeah, no, I mean we're really lucky. I mean, having Dan on our speed dial, that's great. And then Joaquim he's like almost becoming a regular now.
I know.
And this is his second appearance, and we love having him. And the two of them work together so closely on the show, so it's sweet to provide this reunion of sorts for them. Because they haven't seen each other in a while, so that'll be good.
That will be fun. And this is the final two episodes of Season 1 of Unlimited. Episode 12, Weird Western Tales, debuted on January 22nd, 2005, with Episode 13, Time Warped, debuting on Cartoon Network January 29th of 2005. Hard to believe these both are 21 years old.
Okay, you got to stop saying that.
These episodes they'd be carded still probably because they look young.
Oh my gosh, I just can't with the okay, let's just move along.
All right, moving along. Yes. Gary, do you want to go grab our guest from the green room, please? Yeah. Oh, Dan Chiarelli have his own coasters in there already because we put special coasters in there. They're little bat shaped.
Yeah. Dan's a regular, so he's got his own stuff going on. Just go get him, Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. Gary's been a lot better. I mean, he's just really, we mentioned this last episode. He stepped up his game.
Yeah. You know what? I think also, we talked about the competition, the cousin, it's just, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
I think that's just going to sharpen Chuck as well. He's going to really want to come back from vacation with his A game.
I hope so. It's nice having both of them.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it is.
And we've just gotten so much, we can't do it all.
No.
I mean, that's just the reality now.
It's impossible.
It's grown so big, this podcast.
It is. It's huge.
It's huge.
Thank you, Gary.
Listening, do you think?
What's that?
Thanks, Gary. How many people do you think are listening right now?
Counting my mom, there's at least 3. So we'll see how it goes. And my mom has a crush on Joaquim. So yeah, go ahead and sit down there, guys. Thank you. No, I didn't say anything about my mom. He's looking at me funny now, Susan. Thank you very much. So they're seated and they're in their ready to talk positions. Microphones adjusted. Here we go. First time having them both together. It's like we've reunited the Wonder Twins. They can argue among themselves who's Jana, which one's Zaina. But we've got Joaquim Dos Santos and Dan Riba joining us both simultaneously. Gentlemen, thank you. This is so exciting.
Yay! Oh, super excited. Yes. Let's go.
And now I didn't hit the record for the video portion. I'm going to do that right now because I always forget something, but let's do that. Hang on.
Recording in progress.
Now we're cooking. All right, so the recording is on. This is fantastic to have both of you on, and I think we really needed both of you for this episode, the season 1 finale of Unlimited, and you both have rewatched it since then. So we'll start with Mr. Dan Riba, since you had the first part. What were your thoughts going back and revisiting the Once and Future thing?
Mixed. But good overall, because I remember the episode disastrous when it came out. The animation was horrible, but then we had a million retakes, and it actually became watchable. And it was really painful, because part 2 is like so beautiful that it was like, oh my gosh, but it's fine. It's actually fine. The music helps. The acting is great. and it was a very well written show. And the other thing about it was that I loved all of the guest stars in the episode. I wasn't like a crazy Western fanatic as a kid. I liked, I liked some cowboy films and series, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. But I did like a lot of the Western comics. Batlash, the Diablo character, Jonah Hex, and even old comics that had Powwow Smith in them, and to get to actually like have these characters show up in an episode was kind of a dream. And Dwayne was a huge fan of Maverick, and realizing that Batlash was really just DC Comics version of Maverick, really. So it I mean, the whole, my pappy used to tell me, all that stuff was in the comics, but it was really from Maverick. So Dwayne was essentially writing him as Maverick, and it was really cool. That was really fun to realize. And Peter McNichol was really cool. I was a huge like Dragon Slayer fan, and it was so weird. Like, oh my gosh, it's this guy. And he was so nice and so professional. I was like, he really like got into it. I remember him staring at before the readings, would kind of like concentrate on the character and kind of like think about the motivations and think about the character. And then before he would speak, it was really neat how like he took the role very seriously. This isn't like, people just coming in and reading, and, it was like he brought it all, he brought it all to the table. It was great.
But talk about the animation, because we've talked about this before, where you were very disappointed in the animation.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
The drawing quality wasn't as strong. The in-betweening wasn't that great. And like the horses were terrible. And they were never fantastic at towards the end, but it's passable. They're fine. And we staged it in a way where we cut around, so we have guys just like close-ups of them riding them. So we don't actually see as much of the footwork of the horses as much as much as we could have.
It's like not as much of a worry now in horse animation, just because there's so much reference for artists, but like then it was almost a no-no to even just do horses. It was almost like,
absolutely.
Maybe we don't want to do this. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's kind of why DreamWorks did their Spirit movie, was because they knew Disney wouldn't want to do a whole feature on horses.
A little tough to get around the horses when you're doing a Western.
Yeah, exactly. But we sent them like the Muybridge, cycles, and there was all sorts of reference that we sent them to help them draw the things, and so it helped. They weren't wretched. There's a couple of shots where they look like big dogs, but there's a lot of and it's funny. Even the villain, by the way, we. Tobias was like he is the Terra Man,
right?
In the Superman comics,
right.
And I remember buying that comic because it's like he's basically like the man with no name on a winged horse. It's a robot horse with wings, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. Of course, he's a Superman villain, It was like, and I remember buying that comic because it was so odd, and to get to actually. and originally the script, he barely gets on in the show, he barely gets on it. He gets away on his winged horse. We saved it for the very end, so we actually like see him on it. But we had to have that scene because originally the board guy didn't. He just kind of had to go up and down. I'm like, no, we have to have it flying. Come on, So it's added a lot of stuff of him flying and before he gets taken down because it's too cool to ignore because that's the point of that character for me.
It's so funny watching it fresh. I just felt like I was like, and now there's a flying horse, and now it's like. What else can we do here?
And that ending with all the robot, the giant mecha. It's really funny in the weird West.
It's so pulpy and so crazy and so weird and so but cool. Yeah,
it is. It's fun. It's fun. So I really enjoyed that. And just having all those characters and the actors were really fun and they just had a great time.
I remember Peter. I was saying to James last time we talked about this. I remember Peter McNichol sat next to me, and I was a huge Ally McBeal fan. Not to mention Sophie's Choice.
Yep.
And I just remember feeling like so thrilled that he was actually next to me, and he's so wonderful in this. But I also, now that we've talked to you so many times, Dan, whenever I see an episode that has this much going on, I think, these poor directors had to create these. I mean, it was huge. These two episodes.
It was, and I do remember James Tucker went in and like, no, there's got to be more robots and we got to add more. And it's like he plussed it a lot. He added a bit more action to it because it had to be big. It had to be big. We had to we had all the cool character stuff in the beginning and we got to know the characters, but now let's send it home with action. And so it was a tough one. It was a really tough one to do.
The last one that you mentioned,
I was so
having
blown away by like how much exposition happened in like the cold open, like first 2 minutes. It's like, set up the whole dude, evil Doc Brown. I was like, bam, it's like happening. We get it.
I know. And it's funny too, because the woman who played his wife, is that Mindy?
Mindy Sterling.
Yes.
Oh, was it?
She's so good. She's so good. And of course we made her so, I don't know if you remember, there's a Star Trek episode with Mudd, Harry Mudd, and he has all these robots and he keeps the android of his wife to remind him of the world that he walked away from because
But for those listening, let's just put it on the clock. It's 21 minutes into the podcast and we've already had our first Star Trek reference.
And it wasn't for me this time. So
it's Twilight Zone.
No, it's totally Star Trek. It's
Star Trek. All right, there you go.
And of course, Captain Kirk, they punish him at the end by making multiple androids of his wife and imprisoning him on this world. Ending. And that was our ending. That was like the eternity of his wife on a loop is so much like that ending. It was. I
was like, man, Batman is got like an evil streak in him. He's really putting this guy through it at the end.
Or he's a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, one of the two.
Or both.
You mentioned, Dan, once before that the other one that gave you trouble animation wise was Darkheart, because there were so many of those little robots that had to be filled in, and that was one of the things you had to keep sending back to the animator. Was that an often thing, or was it just on these kind of bigger scope episodes?
Bigger scope episodes. In fact, that I don't but same studio, and I think what happened with Darkheart was that we had a lot of people quit on us.
Yeah.
And so by the time they got to this episode, they were shorthanded and they didn't have the quality animators that they needed to animate this one. And we kind of put them on notice.
If I'm not forgetting though, I think there was some sort of investigation happening as to where stuff got subbed out to, and it was going all over the place.
Exactly.
Because I was already working on the next one, and I remember you were
absolutely.
Dude, it's all crumbling. It's all coming down.
Yeah. No. There was a thing where they fired them, the crew, and then what ended up happening was that they hired back a lot of the people that they threw a lot of money at them, but we had already fired them. So I don't know what happened if they got unfired later on as the show's qualities improved, because we still were contracted to give them a couple more episodes. but after that we just like, no, we're moving and finding more people, more studios that, better studios that can handle it.
Yeah.
And then I think they got back eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know, because the quality did improve later on. So.
And that's the crazy thing with a lot of animation studios, like some key personnel leave, like sometimes it can just be 3 people.
Yep.
And they were the ones sort of that were like the bulwark against bad stuff slipping through. And
exactly.
Then it can dip. It can take a big dip.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how funny this episode was?
Yes.
I mean,
the line that you keep having to write on things, when I remember somebody coming up to you and having you
about
write
the bullets.
The bullets, yeah. That was Dwayne loved that line. He was
fans
so
say that to me all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've done a Comic-Con in 20-something years without somebody reciting that line to me.
That's so funny.
And, it makes me chuckle every time because it's a great line. I mean, but...
Do it for us.
No. I'm not one of those actors.
I can't do it justice.
I'm already turning red. But it really... The humor in this one, and I got to be a little funny, which is sweet because it's not always that Wonder Woman gets to be funny.
Yeah. And even like when you walk up on Batman and Green Lantern, just sort of like talking about relationship stuff, I was like, this episode literally has everything.
It
This is like kind of rom-com vibes here. This is it's great.
No, we were talking to Maria about was it Wake the Dead?
Wake the Dead, last one.
Yeah, last episode, and. It was just like she would talk about these scripts and and like working on the show and just how as an actor, she got to play so much, and it's true. It's like a part is a part, whether it's animation or live action. And Hawkgirl, and I mean, this whole story with Hawkgirl coming back, I mean, it was just really dynamite.
Great.
Dynamite.
I know how hurt she was when the Thanagarian invasion came in, and that she felt like we had kind of like did her a dirty one, and we kind of did because we didn't tell anybody ahead of time. So that wasn't like probably not smart, but we didn't want it to reflect the performances. We didn't want her to ever feel like she was.
Like get ahead of it and start.
Yeah, we didn't want her to feel like she was going to be a traitor because it's like that. It wasn't like that. She didn't realize this was going to happen. Right. Even though she was planted on Earth for a purpose, she had moved on from that.
Right.
And so I don't think it would have been confusing to like let her know. But the fact that. We convinced her that no, you're coming back, and we love you. We love you.
It's going to be even more complex and cool, and
it was. I mean,
the character had so much. There was so much more richness to the character later on. It was really cool.
I mean, what's crazy though is that like Batman and Green Lantern are in a commissary having a conversation at a table, and like Wonder Woman walks up and is like. What did I just interrupt? You know what I mean? Like, only in Justice League are you going to find those moments where it's like fully clothed Batman is having a conversation with Green Lantern.
But also, that's, I think, why we're talking about it 25 years later.
Yeah.
Because of those conversations. I mean, people have talked about that so much that these characters are so, they're just so full as characters. And it really speaks to the people behind the scenes because they never condescended to the audience.
Right.
They were really smart. And so the scripts are smart and the direction's smart. And, that is why we're still here.
Yeah.
It's
true. And also, I realized just now, like Wonder Woman is probably the only person that has ever snuck up on Batman. Like in that moment, he was like, wait a minute, she's standing right behind me.
That's really a great point. And I think she's probably the only one who could sneak up. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
He was having dinner in the commissary in the Watchtower. He gave Alfred the night off. That was my explanation in my head as to why he was eating on the Watchtower. Alfred.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
No lobster thermidor that night in the Batcave. go into this a little bit more too. This two-parter, obviously both parts written by Dwayne McDuffie, and it's his birthday coming up February 20th. When this drops, it might be after his birthday, but as we're approaching that, I cannot tell you, and it makes me feel I'm almost going to cry, the amount of love that's been outpouring this month on Threads especially, but I see it on Twitter, especially with the relaunch of the Milestone universe that they're doing in DC. Yes. Yep. Just the constant love. And it's one of those things, you see it for Kevin Conroy all the time. People constantly, he's on this well-deserved pedestal, and I feel like Dwayne McDuffie is right there with him. And Gail Simone has been going on about how great it was to work with him and how much he taught her. So with him writing this and the two of you kind of co-directing the episodes, what was the process like for that?
I mean, I always found Dwayne, any version of us working together, he was always just so supportive. It was about like one step, always trying to like level up the next. So if ideas were pitched that were like adjustments on something he wrote, he would always be super like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Yes. And and he would add to stuff. And again, I was the greenest, I think, on the team in terms of like the directors. Right. But he always made me feel like my ideas super mattered and always counted. And always, made things feel like fresh all the time. Right. So that was, he's great.
No, he was wonderful that way. I remember that. He wasn't one of those precious writers that sort of like, no, it's got to be my way. If you had an idea to contribute, and he would be so open to that, and that was great. Oh man, no,
you don't always have that luxury. That luxury. Sometimes it's like, hey, what about? And it's like, how about you just do what's written on the thing, and you're like, okay, all right, that's cool. Yeah. And there is a time and a place for that. I've definitely, I mean, Dan can tell you a story. I once sort of took a zig where I should have zagged, or at least stayed on the course with something that Bruce had written. And Bruce was like, hey man, I get it, but how about you just do what's written? Okay.
I know that was like, and it is funny coming from him though, because he was usually the guy. He was usually the guy that was like, "Oh, let's plus this, let's add to this." Right. But I
think also because he could visualize what he was writing so well, he was
exactly what happened.
I wrote it as I wanted to see it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's.
And we got Dan's answer. When you went back and revisited this two-parter, Joaquim, what were your thoughts on both the Western and then the part you did to the future episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it just before we started. These two episodes had everything. There was this commercial that used to play on Saturday morning cartoons where I don't even remember what it was for, but I remember they would go to the Everything and More store where they sold everything and more. And it just felt like that. I was like, that first episode where it was like robots. All right, now we got dinosaur. We got raptors coming out. We got Pegasus coming out. We got it all. We got a gun that turns into 6 guns. It was great. Super fun. And I felt again like only Justice League could kind of pull off navigating these tones like this, and knowing when to sort of have fun with it and wink at the screen and go like, you guys get it. You're on for the ride. Yeah. And then being able to go like way more dark, not dark, but like way more serious in tone, and having a moment like when Green Lantern realizes like, oh my God, that's my kid. And just having that sit with the audience for a moment.
Yeah. And that realization that, wait, in some universe, he and Hawkgirl hooked up.
That's right. This actually played out.
This actually happened. This is awesome.
And then you go full circle back to the table at the end, and you're like, this is going to be complicated.
Yeah. And what I really love also is that the quality of the animation was so strong, and there's this high bar with the Return of the Joker, and to sort of like hit that level of and you did it. You actually hit that level, and it sits alongside, in terms of animation and direction. It's really, really good.
Jeez, man. I mean, that was one. I wrote like, Return of the Joker in my notes because like that is like that just that opening sequence alone.
Yes.
You're like, my gosh.
I know.
But so fun to play with those characters, I will say too. The characters lend themselves to like all that dynamism and that action staging and stuff.
Yeah.
But speaking of Dwayne, I mean, I gotta say, like, Static in this episode, was,
right?
like, it was huge. It was like such a cool moment,
right?
And him being able to bridge that gap between both those worlds.
Yeah, and the two Bruces. I mean, well, Bruce and and that's what we discussed when we talked about this episode with our super fan, James, our other James. He, from Watchtower Database, him, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how there wasn't a lot of explaining. You didn't get a lot of backstory in terms of, okay, so this character was once related to this character, and that's why we're showing them. It was just like, I got it. I'm caught up. Let's go. And that's you guys just respecting the hell out of your audience. And also,
I think we got lucky because we got to make a truly serialized thing.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's awesome one-offs, but like there was an overarching story that everybody was tracking.
Yeah. Yes.
And that, it's not like we were the first to do something like that, but I think in animation geared towards the audience that it was playing to and then that it opened up to, it really, I think, allowed us to be able to just go like, all right, you understand? Now we're moving on. You understand? Now we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to get to.
Yeah, that kind of is summarized in the way Hal Jordan pops in for Jon Stewart. He said, I'm up to speed. Let's go. And he's like,
perfect.
He basically says it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
speaking of which, I just looked in my closet and found a Hal Jordan holiday figure.
You've got one of those?
Yeah, that Bruce had signed.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. And it was like in a box. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is that.
How much cash do I have on me? Let me see if I can.
Let's go right now.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. I see those pop up on eBay occasionally. And it's those are amazing.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Wait, we're talking about the future episode very quickly. We did have, we put out to our Patreons if they wanted to ask a question for either one of you. And we had Anthony Alvarado wanted to ask, with the Joker showing up in the second part of this two-parter, was there ever any discussion to having the Joker, whether it's future Joker or the Tim Drake version, since we are in that Batman Return of the Joker universe, was there ever any discussion to having the Joker or a figment or version of the Joker in this episode?
Do you want me to take that one, Dan?
Please. I mean, those were conversations that were happening above my head for sure.
Exactly.
Okay.
Really?
I don't know. I can't imagine that it would have just added so much more complication.
Yeah.
To the story as it was. I can't imagine they but who knows? We weren't in that room.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we sort of got, we'd get the scripts, we'd have like pitchbacks on stuff that was basically locked at script.
Yeah.
And so if those ideas were floated, we didn't hear about them. But it would have been neat. Would have been cool.
Every now and then, somebody would talk about something in outline form or something they were talking about doing and whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it stayed in the writer room, kind of like, with James, Bruce, Dwayne.
But actually, Dwayne was really good at like, hey, I just got out of the room. Exactly. What do you guys think about this?
Yes, yes.
Like, that's really cool.
Talk about collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
With the
people used to ask all the time, like they would ask us on panels, like, so did you improvise a lot, on the show? And you're like, oh, that's so cute.
It's very cute.
No, we did not do that. There was no improvising.
I feel like that's always a testament to the good writing.
Animation is so planned that it's almost like impossible to do unless you get way ahead of it and you go, all right, say it in some other, do the same idea in a different way.
Right.
And also, Phil has to be given a shout out for having to have conversations with himself in this one too, with Static and Green Lantern.
That's true.
And that's really fun.
And Kevin.
And Kevin did too.
And Kevin,
Kevin had got, so it's like there's a lot of people talking to themselves in this.
It's super fun. I mean, it's like that weird wish fulfillment, and they wound up into they sort of did a version of this in the Avengers films with all the time travel-y stuff.
Exactly. Oh, and they got it from us.
Clearly.
But I just think that there is a certain amount of just like, hey, let's not think too much about like the realities of these rules, and that there's a big sort of like erasure coming over the horizon, and just have fun with it.
Yeah. But there is a darkness to it too, with the manipulation of the time, the time continuum and all of this. I mean, it's quite dark.
It is.
And that stayed with me a little bit as well when I rewatched it. Because
and then just sort of plainly stating it, sort of stating like, hey, we're going to all be wiped out unless we figure this out.
All right, kids, time for bed.
That's right.
No, I think that is a testament to the writing on this, though, is because I always feel like when the dialogue and the conversation and the banter on a show is so sharp, you almost wonder, gosh, that almost seemed like they were making it up as they went along. And I always point to the TV series iZombie, because I had Rahul Kohli on the show before, and just some of their banter, I'm like, that can't have been written. Either that or you guys are just amazing actors and you've got a crack writing team. But to Susan's point, I think that's part of, you guys did have a fantastic writing team and great actors and great directors. So that's, I think, why you get that question so much, Susan.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You guys making it feel natural, that is the magic. If we read those lines, they felt like red lines. If you guys read those lines, they feel natural.
I mean, I remember when Green Lantern is smelling the clothes when they're putting on and he's like, oh, the shower hasn't been invented yet. It's like, and that was such a cool thing that Wayne really placed you back in that time. You really felt, oh yeah, that's right. People stank back then.
Right.
It's like, you don't watch a Western going, yeah, all these people smell.
They all stink.
I've been to Comic Cons and the shower's been invented since I've been going to Comic Cons, and people still need to, I'm just saying, every so often. But was there any point of this when the two of you were watching each other's episodes, were like, oh, I almost, little part of you wishes you had been able to direct the other ones?
To me, it was the fun of your episode, Dan. It was just it was just one thing after the other, and I was like, and this, oh my God, this is crazy. So that always seems like a really fulfilling thing. If you can just start like throwing stuff at the audience and having fun with all that.
I never feel that way, honestly, because I take so much pleasure watching your work that it's like. And the only time that I ever felt jealous was when you had the Spice Smasher opening, and you were so gracious to let me go through the board and work with Dave Bullock on it and give him all the reference I had. And
well, so, I mean, that was,
it was very sweet. It was.
I have I will never pretend to be as even an ounce as knowledgeable as you are about that era of like pulp awesomeness, man.
And he nailed it. It was great. It was a beautiful.
Wait, what are you referring to?
Was it Patriot Act?
It must have been Patriot Act.
The teaser with Spy Smasher. It's an upcoming, or was it? Did we already do that?
We haven't hit that one yet.
No, we haven't done it.
Yeah, but there was.
But it opens in sort of this like, I don't know. It's sort of pulpy.
Yeah, it's a black and white sequence.
Yeah.
With Spy Smasher, the character from the Fawcett era.
Okay.
With the original Captain Marvel, and he had a movie serial back then, and so I had all sorts of reference on that, and I gave it to Bullock, and so it was one of those things where I'd always dreamed of seeing him in animation, and it looked great. It was so much fun. It was such a great sequence.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they had two different directors for this. I mean, they could have had one of you direct both episodes, or that wasn't possible.
I think schedule-wise, it doesn't work out so good.
We had a three-parter and coming up, and so we had this kind of stagger, like who did what in this one, and it was one of those things where it worked out better this way because there was such a different feel to each part.
Yes,
completely. So it was, and it's like, my gosh, to wrap your head around the future and the past at the same time.
But also, if I'm not confused, like they were kind of staggered, like there was a little overlap. So like you were like in process as we were starting our episode. Yeah. So I just thought, I think logistically it wouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, because we were doing less two-parters at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the thing. Yeah. The network was like, no more two-parters and not so many serials. And we were like, well, guess what? We're doing a few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every episode in Unlimited.
It's a pain for the network because they have to run them in order, and sometimes they like to like mix stuff around, and but they were pretty good with our show. They let us. They rarely knock stuff out of order. I hear that with other shows and other networks where that would happen all the time.
Every episode in Unlimited had been a standalone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I will say one cool thing that I totally forgot was the case was the like Justice League Beyond, the Future Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I took my test on to get into WB. It was like an old Batman Beyond.
Really?
That's right. That's what I tested that was our test.
That was the test.
Because they didn't want to do like a regular thing. And we hadn't really done the show yet. So the only time we had a Justice League, a group of characters together, was the Call.
The Call,
That's
yeah.
Right, it was the Call.
Beyond. And
also a two-parter.
Yeah, that was.
That's
the
right.
One
So it was.
Yeah.
I remember like feeling like, oh, because I had a big Warhawk scene in that test, and I remember thinking like, oh yeah, right, Warhawk.
So what is the test? What is that? What is that? What does that involve?
So it was a storyboard test. So I was trying to testing to be a story artist. So it was like 4 pages of script or something like that. Some designs, and you got a week and a half or 2 weeks to put something up and pitch it out. But I remember going to, this is when it was still in the Comerica building. So going to the Comerica building, seeing Thelma for the first time when like the doors opened up and she was there. And then turning my stuff in, and she said, good luck. Cause I was turning in a big leather portfolio. Yeah. She's like, all right, good luck, honey. We'll see you. And I left, and that was it. Got the call a couple days later.
Yeah. You were a baby.
Little guy.
You were really young.
Yeah. Maybe 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah, you were a kid for sure.
Yeah.
You really stuck out in this group. Not that these guys were old or we were old, but you really seemed very young.
I was still wearing my, I think I might have still been shopping at Pacific Sun or something like that. It's a Pac Sun guy.
There you go. Yeah. And with we should mention the cast too, because the cast in this one for both episodes is incredible. We've got in the first part, which is obviously Weird Western Tales, we had Peter McNichol. We mentioned Kronos crosses over, as does Susan's Wonder Woman, Kevin's Batman, and Phil's GL. Adam Baldwin, Jonah Hex. We have Jonathan Joss as Sheriff Smith, Nestor Carbonell as El Diablo, who I knew as from the Tick, the live action Tick with Patrick Warburton. That's right, Batman well. Edo Ross as Tobias Manning, Mindy Sterling, who we mentioned as Enid Clinton, Kronos' wife, and Peter Honorati as Warhawk. He's also got that little coda at the end of the first episode, moves on to the second. In the future episode, the only people who didn't come back from the original Joker's cast from Batman Return of the Joker, we didn't get Frank Welker as Wolf, and we didn't get Henry Rollins as Bonk, but Michael Rosenbaum as Ghoul, Will Friedle as Terry, obviously, Melissa Joan Hart as Dee Dee, D. Bradley Baker took over as Wolf, and we had Don Harvey as Chucko, and then Adam Baldwin subbed in for Bonk for Henry Rollins. Just crazy. Absolutely amazing cast.
Did you mention Jonathan Joss?
Yes, Jonathan Joss, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit a couple of weeks ago about Jonathan.
No, he was wonderful. He was so great in the episode, and it was a really important thing for him because he's so used to playing Native American characters that sort of more stereotypical and stuff like that, and so he got to play a hero for once, and he really enjoyed it. So
there's also that awesome line where he says, "Stop calling me that."
Yeah,
and you're like, yes,
and that's because we were at odds because the character's name is Pow Wow Smith in the comics. It was always sort of like in the idea that it's like that's kind of insulting.
Yeah,
it's kind of and they didn't know in the 50s that what they were. They thought he was an uplifting, positive character. This was but they didn't realize that the name was awkward. So so we got to give him a real name. and it was cool.
I have to say that there's that scene in the second part where Batman and Green Lantern are going through the time, whatever
Tunnel thing.
tunnel,
Yeah.
and they're chasing him to stop him, and I just could not get over how thrilling that was to watch, because it was like a moviegoer experience. You're just like, oh my God, are they going to, it's like, are they going to catch him? What's going to happen?
Right.
And it was so well directed. I mean, it just filled me with anticipation and like nerves. And I know the ending.
Yeah.
But it was
Also, what a
so well
big
done. It was so
idea, though,
cinematic.
like, getting to the end of time or the beginning of time, like,
Yes.
and how do you represent that? And you see this giant hand out in the it was cool.
So cool.
But that's another one where like you can board it a million different ways, and you can say, oh, it's a big tunnel that does the thing. Especially then when we were doing everything on paper, you couldn't do any fancy stuff that you can do in like Storyboard Pro now, or you sort of had to really rely on the design crew and then animators that were going to like really see that vision through.
Exactly.
And that whole effect is all digital. All that time tunnel stuff is like digital.
Yeah. It was
which for the time was still kind of new.
Yeah.
But now would you say it's easier or better doing it the way you can do it now with, getting the nuances of movement?
I prefer it myself because I think there's just it's a closer handoff between the story team and like a layout team and then to an animator.
Okay.
Exactly. There's more control.
There's more control. So you could really have like at the board phase sort of, physically built like a 3-dimensional space for them to be moving through. And so you could really get that feel at an earlier part of the process.
Interesting.
Well, one thing I mentioned, I was going to mention that the cool thing, I love the visual of the hand because it also reminds me that Jack Kirby had the source in the New Gods.
That's right.
That would write on the wall, and it's like it sort of ties into the sort of Kirby universe that, which is like, well, Kirby is the source of everything.
He is the source.
He is the source. So
it's always cool to see the source wall.
I remember when we did it, it reminded me a lot of there was what was that ride at Disneyland where you would get shrunk down into like an atom and you'd see that giant eyeball staring at you through the...
Was it the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids ride?
No. This is predates that.
Yeah, this was in the 60s. The Journey Through Micro... Right? No, I don't want to... No, nothing was verse back then. It was the Micro World, the Micro...
Something like that, yeah. But and then you would see like a little tunnel physically when you're waiting in line. You'd see like a little tunnel of like all the little cabs that you were in shrunken down going through this like tube.
It was so cool. It was like a reverse microscope, and
that's
right. You would be in these little pods, these little chairs that would go in like kind of
like the Haunted Mansion. Yeah.
And then as you would go through it, there was like this cheat where you'd kind of like you'd go under it, but the ride would imply that you'd go up, and there'd be like these little models that would get smaller and smaller as they progress.
That's
so
right.
You would really until they get to this, you get to see an atom. It's so cool.
But the scale of that hand, I remember feeling like, oh, okay, this is like that Disneyland ride where you're at some point you see this giant eye staring at you through a microscope.
Man, I missed out on all the cool rides, I guess. I don't recall that one at all.
Journey Through Inner Space.
There you go. Journey Through Inner Space.
Journey Through Inner Space.
It was right across from where Star Tours is now.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Miss out on all that. I always went to Florida. I think I was only in Disneyland once when I was 2 years old, so I don't remember much of anything about it. So
I've never been to Disney World, but I have heard that like if Disneyland is your thing, then you go to Disney World and you're like, oh, so like Disneyland is not the greatest.
It's a smaller park.
I can't believe that myself because I'm a California kid.
But they still have the buckets that the cable car things. They still
at Disney World.
At Disney World, whereas those are gone in Disneyland. Yeah. It's like they blame it on the earthquakes, but I don't know.
I always say one of my first jobs out here, not out here, in California, was working for Charlie Fleischer at Disney when because Who Framed Roger Rabbit had just come out. Yeah, it had just come out because I worked for everybody in town. I mean, literally, I worked for everybody. It was crazy.
So cool.
Crazy. And we were at the Disney lot, and because he had an office there as part of his deal after the movie was so successful. Sure. And for our Christmas party, you know, they would close down the park.
Oh.
And we would just all get to play in the park.
It's like
it's
a dream.
It was. It really was. And I'm not, you know, it was just, you know, not to mention you worked at Goofy Lane, or, you know what I mean? Like, or, you know, Mickey Road. I mean, it was all just magical. I mean, truly, it just felt so magical. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's a different podcast for a different time. That's when James and I will do our Disney podcast.
There you go.
Right now we're still on DC.
Tune in next week. Brett Irwin joins us. Brett Irwin joins us as the voice of Mickey.
Right. Okay, so do we have any more questions for these guys? I don't want to keep them too long.
No, I just put it out strictly to Patreon because I wanted to give them a little something extra for sticking with us and everything like that. And plus, we had so much to talk about. Selfishly, I figured questions would interrupt what Susan and I wanted to talk about with these two. So, you know, I'm a little selfish sometimes.
That's okay. We're allowed. We're entitled.
But I guess one question I wanted to ask both of you, when you, with this cast of actors that I just listed off, was there anybody who you hadn't worked with before who you were like, oh my gosh, we've got this person coming in to voice someone today? Were either one of you like a little bit fanboy with any of the cast on this one?
Besides Peter McNichol and Mindy Sterling and you know, it was, I don't know, man.
But can you imagine like that there were 15 of us or however many people were in this cast that we were all in the same room?
Yeah.
I mean, how crazy. Lucky was that?
I remember, I mean, I was just geeked every time we did a record, you know, just seeing everybody be able to jam. I will say, I was not that the performance was off or anything, but like I'm such a huge Henry Rollins fan that when I heard he wasn't coming back, I was like, no, my one opportunity. And then it turns out he's done a ton of animation.
Yeah.
But I mean, just seeing all you guys work was always such a joy, and I always felt so geeked because I was always in the back of the room, so there was like Dan, Glenn, James, and then Andrea ahead of that with whoever was engineering and stuff, and then you guys were in the room. So it almost felt like Mystery Science Theater watching you guys do your thing, because it was like these rows of heads.
Yeah. In fact, there was some documentary about I forgot which maybe it was Mask of the Phantasm. But I was at the record, and you can see my little bald head in the bottom of the screen, like in the recording booth. So it's hilarious.
I think Kevin always said that was his favorite movie.
Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Batman movie. They keep coming out with new Batman movies, but it never quite measures up to Mask of the Phantasm.
That's awesome.
Classics, you know, and other things can be fantastic, but a classic, you're not going to,
Yeah, I mean, I went through a phase where like Return of the Joker, because the animation quality was so much step ahead of that, but then I saw Mask of the Phantasm in a theater with an audience, and it still resonates. It still
that's
works.
Very real.
So even though you don't have the quality of the animation, the heart is there in that film. That's so strong. And so it's like, okay, all right. It's
also, I mean, I was just experiencing that purely as a fan. Like that's, I was just so blown away that there was a Batman animated thing in the theaters.
Right.
I was like,
that's pretty extraordinary. Yeah.
This is crazy.
And it came out on Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. It was like a Christmas release, which was incredible. Wow. I was like, I know what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And tomorrow and the next day.
That's right.
I think I did see it 4 times in theaters, I have to say.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
It was one of my favorites. As Susan said, I don't want to keep the two of you much longer, but I do want to give you each final word on the episode. Looking back on it, final thoughts, anything you do differently, any standout thing that you just loved specifically about each of your own episodes, and we'll start with Joaquim.
I mean, anything you do differently is a deadly question, because if given the opportunity, I'll like rework everything I do. I'd still be working on these episodes right now if you gave me the opportunity. But
Where's Joaquim? He's working on the Justice League.
Just having fun with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think I'm just so blown away that how, again, it's the record that I'll keep repeating, like how much stuff these 2 episodes threw at you, and how it rode this line between pulp insanity and then also these sort of dramatic stakes, and then also these darker undertones that start happening, especially in the second episode. And I think, like Dan said, because I was such a huge fan of Return of the Joker, being able to play with those characters up top was just, it was beyond super cool.
Yeah.
And Dan?
No, it really. Well, I mean, again, it was a dream to play with these characters that I never had the opportunity. I never dreamed. Like, no one's going to make a Western cartoon. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So the idea of this obscure comic that only had 6 issues or so, Batlash was not a huge success, and the fact that we got to visit and Ben Browder did such a great job with the voice.
He did.
And,
He was great.
And Dwayne, just loved writing him, and so it was so cool. And I actually got to talk to Sergio Aragones, who created the character, and he got to tell me his idea for the future of Batlash and what he thought the character was going to go before it got canceled. And he had a whole life mapped out for the show, for the comic had it gone on. And he was going to be like, he was going to go, it's kind of, he was going to move to Mexico in a revolution and all sorts of, it was so cool. Yeah, he was going to be like this big revolutionary hero. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And of course, he didn't hear that from me because because who knows, he might do it,
Yeah, sure.
So, but I really wanted, I was so happy to hear that, and and it was like so cool to get to play with that character. So.
And Dan, you touched on the music earlier, but I have to say the music cues in this, like Chef's Kiss, because it just was like the Western theme and just our original score. Yep. Being in there, and just it added to it. It was just this perfect amalgamation of all these elements, and
that Ennio Morricone version of the original theme
of the Justice League thing was ridiculous.
Awesome.
That's the best.
That was so good. That was so good. Yeah, no, that was great.
How lucky were we? Come on.
No kidding, right?
It's
funny, by the way, Peter Onorati, I remembered him. He had played Wanna Beast for us.
Oh, yeah.
But I remembered him on Cop Rock. I actually
Cop Rock!
I loved that show.
Oh,
and I was like the one guy that watched that show.
We talked about that show once because I also used to work for John Romano. And John Romano, that was his show. Or he was with Stephen Bochco. And yeah, I mean, there were the fans who loved that show loved that show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there weren't enough of those fans.
Yeah.
What a wild idea, Pop Rock.
I know.
The first episode is so powerful. It's such a great episode. The music is really good.
Yeah,
it's such
ahead of its time, I suppose.
It really was.
Yeah. The fans listening, is there anything that you can share with anybody about what's coming up for you guys? Whether it's like Comic-Cons or projects you're working on, and I understand not being able to share because I can't share some of the stuff I'm working on, so I understand.
I'm over at Netflix in development on a thing that I'm super passionate about and is like tied to every ounce of my my childhood and growing up playing video games and stuff. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that's great.
Wowza. And when will people be able to discover this thing? Do you have any, like a timeline?
No, I mean, no.
Okay.
Unfortunately. And development can be like that sometimes.
Yes,
it
indeed.
can just sort of go on.
And Joaquim, I forget, are you on social media at all?
I am. I have an Instagram account that I look at every now and again.
Okay.
But I don't really like interact so much. But I think it's JES_77.
Okay, because I know there are fans out there that would love to, to follow you. So that's great.
That's the one.
What about you, Mr. Comic-Con?
I'm gonna be in Cleveland in next month. And, the middle and in Kansas Fan Expo, and then PlanetCon in Kansas.
Wowza. Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And in April?
I'm not sure when this will drop, but it's fairly soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this will come out pretty quick.
Two Rivers.
And Two Rivers.
Be doing that.
Yeah, in April.
Yeah.
That always sounds. Those always sound like pro wrestlers. Like where they're from, like hailing from Two Rivers.
Hey, you do that, voiceover really good.
Oh,
we ought to try to bring Joaquim in for Two Rivers, because we've got Andrea Romano, we've got Kimberly Brooks, we've got Dan Riba. So maybe we convince you, twist your arm to come in as well. Who knows?
Let's go.
That's great. And Dan Riba, how can people follow you?
Dan Riba,
I mean, not in a stalking way. Just follow you.
I have a very old website that I do not, keep up with that much, but it's danriba.com, and so you can contact. My email is there too. It's like,
So when you have these upcoming cons, is it usually the people that are bringing you in for that advertise it? Like, do you advertise it on your website?
Heroic Fine Art.
Right.
Is James Fletcher at Heroic Fine Art. He like manages my convention appearances. So
okay, terrific.
So you could go to Heroic Fine Art, and that's the best way to contact if you want.
There you go.
And if you have a chance to see Dan Riba at a Comic-Con, do it, because he is terrific. And James and I can attest to the fact that there is nothing like having him sitting next to you on your panel. And also, he's really good at drawing. It's true. I don't lie. Hello, Wonder Woman.
Lasso of truth.
Lie.
It's impossible.
Lasso of truth.
Anyway,
right.
We thank you both for doing this. We really couldn't imagine doing this without both of you. Fans are going to love this episode because, it's brilliant. It truly is brilliant, and it has stood the test of time for sure. So thank you both for doing this. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
There they go. Great to have them both together like that, and to have they were so happy to see each other. That was wonderful.
It was so fun. I mean, I love having more than one guest. It's a treat, and to have these two guys, and like Joaquim started as a story, as a
storyboard artist.
Yes, and then to see him move on from that to being a director, I remember him, changing and moving up, and it was exciting, and so have them back together and talking about the show and seeing all the memories come out for them. It was sweet. I loved it.
And we did have, we mentioned Patreon. We gave them first crack at the questions this time around.
That's right.
And we limited it to just Patreon because we would have gotten so many questions. We wouldn't be able to ask our questions and get into the conversation. But we did have another one came in there at the end. We had Brian Edmondson asked, was Justice League Unlimited picked up again already, or did you guys think this would be a season finale? And I can actually answer that, I know, because we've discussed it in a previous thing where season 2 at the end of Unlimited, when they did Epilogue, that future episode where we get to see a grown-up Terry McGinnis still being Batman, that's what they did because they didn't think they were going to get renewed for a third season. Ended up getting picked up. So, Brian, to answer your question, it's probably disappointing not hearing it come from Joaquim or Dan, but there's your answer. That was they knew they were going to get a second season going forward from here.
Right, just not the third.
Right. Yeah. Look at me being kind of knowledgeable.
Oh, wow. Kind of being the operative word, but sure. No, that was good. Thanks. All right. So what else?
No, I think there's not much more to say. They covered a lot of ground. And they really put a cherry on top of it when we closed up there with each giving their final thoughts on the subject. So I guess all that's left for us to do is tell people, Susan, where can they find you?
Well, James, you can find me everywhere on, not everywhere.
Okay, Michelle Branch, take it easy.
I know. No, you can find me on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram at Susan Eisenberg 1. And also SusanEisenbergVoice.com is my website, and I have like all the appearances. So I put them out there so you can see where I'm going to be for the Comic-Cons. And you can also email me if you have a question or comment about the podcast, guests that you would love to have on, because we have our own wish list. It's always nice to hear from other people what their wish list would be. So, that's it. And what about you, sir?
Well, as for me,
where can people find you?
Yes, I'm slightly less ubiquitous than Susan Eisenberg. I'm not everywhere.
No, you are. Are you kidding me? How many things you've got? You are everywhere.
I just
Go
don't
ahead,
sleep.
tell the kids.
Yeah, I just don't sleep. But yes, you can catch me on social media, somewhat on Twitter. I've kind of backed off a little bit there just because I'm not getting the response I used to get, which is it just kind of feels like you're shopping in an empty mall now. But I am still active on there if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Geek To Me Radio. I've been more active on Threads lately, and it feels like a really just inner-knit community and a lot of humor going on. So Threads, Geek To Me Radio on there. Also, the website, geektomeradio.com. You can keep track of all of my guests who I have on the show. It's a great launching pad to find my social medias, to get my guests. Like we just had Craig Ferguson on the show, one of my top 10 favorite late night hosts of all time. It was great to talk to him about his voice work. And we've got some amazing guests coming up later on in March too. So you can tune in for those every Sunday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you follow me on YouTube, that's the best thing to watch the show. YouTube.com again /Geek To Me Radio. And you can also watch it live on the Facebook.com/Geek To Me Radio. As long as Joey V is in studio, then we do run videos so you can see our guests as well as hear them. So that'll be something to keep up with, and pushing to get to the 15,000 subscriber mark by my birthday. We're about 3,000 something short. So if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, head over to YouTube, geektomeradio.com. I would appreciate it.
And what about, when is your birthday so the kids can know?
Oh, April. It's in April. Yeah. So, and then we've got a Comic-Con coming up that month too, just after my birthday. So if you haven't met Dan Riba, if you haven't met Kevin Altieri, who's fantastic artist, also worked on Batman Mask of the Phantasm, a host of other cartoons and projects he's worked on, he will also be in attendance. And we're going to have Andrea Romano, who couldn't make it last year when we had Susan and Maria and Phil and Carl, but she promised she'd come, and she's going to be here this coming April as well. So if you've not met Andrea or Dan or Kevin, make sure you check out the #2 riverscomiccon.com. Tickets are available now, and you might want to get your tickets early because we're going to have a big contest coming up with a really amazing giveaway. When I say amazing, it's a mind-blowing giveaway, and if you've already bought a ticket, you're in for the drawing for that. So make sure you check it out.
Wow, that's so exciting. That really is. What a great lineup. And as somebody who's already been to the Comic-Con and can speak to the experience, so great.
Thank you.
Just such a good time. And can we talk about St. Charles?
Yes. St. Charles would love it. Yes. Historic St. Charles, Missouri.
Yes. I mean, what a treat it is to visit that place. I mean, that was like the highlight. I mean, other than meeting the fans and being with my crew there, just being in that town, it's like walking into a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this is so quaint. Anyway, kids, you've got the rundown on James. You've got the rundown on me. We thank you for listening. We thank you for being part of our experience here. Please, please, please subscribe to our little podcast and leave a review if you would. We love hearing your feedback. And just please stay tuned because the conversation will continue.